Today, I have a very special visitor, my very favorite brother, Timmy. We call him Uncle Timmy, and I hope you get to know Uncle Timmy as well. He will be singing some wonderful songs and telling stories.
Hi, everybody. I'm Uncle Tim. I'm going to sing you a funny song because I'm here with some fun. So here it goes. This is about one of my old girlfriends. She's a pretty little girl and she lived uptown. Her daddy was a butcher and his name is Brown. Her beauty is high renowned. She's the gal for me. She's my honey, my baby. She's wall-eyed and she's crazy. She's freckle-faced, she's pigeon-toed and lame. And her lower teeth are phony from chewing on Swiss bologna. She's my freckle-faced, consumptive Sarah Jane. Oh, I'll never forget her the first time I met her. She was cooking hot cakes on the stove, and her eyes were full of matter, came drifting down the batter, while the snot came a bubbling down her nose. Hi, this is Uncle Timmy again, and I'm going to do another song here at Grandma Bonnie's. I took her to a dance one night. It was a social hop. We danced until the lights went out, and then we had to stop. I took her to a restaurant, the best one in the state. She said she wasn't hungry, but this is what she ate. A dozen raw, a plate of slaw, a chicken and a roast, apple sass, asparagus, and soft-shelled crab on toast, dish of stew, crackers too. Her appetite was immense. She called for pie. I thought I'd die, 'cause I had but 50 cents.
I remember those songs so well and how my dad sang them in his real soft voice, and it was special many, many, many years ago. Now, Uncle Timmy is going to be telling a few stories about a bear and a mountain lion. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's kind of scary.
I was fishing with my grandson, and we were up in the mountains, and we had a great day, and we took a rest, and then we went back to the lake as it was beginning to get dark. And we were sitting on and we were having such a good time. And as we're sitting there, I hear, and I looked over to the right, and in the bushes and around the side of the bushes, which was right at the edge of the water, this big bear was coming toward us.
Oh,
So I said, my grandson, Louis, I said, get up, walk slowly up the hill towards where our car was parked. And he started walking up the hill, and I said, don't panic, just keep walking. So I got up off my chair, and I went up the hill behind Louis, and we got behind a tree about halfway up. And we watched the bear walk over to our two chairs. And I had a bottle of water on my chair. It was in my little water holder. And the bear came over and he sniffed around, and then he grabbed my water and he put it up in the air, and it was closed. And he bit it like that, and he drank it down, and then he threw it down. And then my little grandson, Louis, he laughed. He went, ha ha ha. And the bear looked right up at us like that. Looked right at us. And then it saw Louis and me, and it started coming up towards us. And I said, Louis, get up to the car. Get up to the car, quick. And I unlocked the car with my key fob, and he's up there, and I have a bad leg, so I'm limping behind Louis, and he gets up there. And we get to the car, and I said, get in the car. And the bear's about halfway up, about where that tree was, and he's sniffing around where we're standing. And let's get in the car. And there was a young lady jogging around the lake, getting her last jog in around the lake. And she started screaming. And when she screamed, then the bear looked up again. And I said, get in the back seat, quick, quick, quick. So me and Louie and the screaming lady got in the car, and the bear came right up to the car, and it sniffed around in my trunk, and then it came right over to my window, and it was looking me right in the eye. It was a big bear, brown, but it was a black bear, but it was brown colored, but it was one of the biggest bears I've seen. And what happened was, I was at a place where I said, "What do you do around here? Because there's a lot of bears when you see a bear." And the woman there said, "Well, what I do when I go out from here and bears are around, I jingle my keys. And for some reason, they run away." And so I thought, oh, maybe I can jingle my keys. So I grabbed my keys and I jingled the keys as the bear is looking at me. And it turned around and it started running up the hill away from us. And I said, why would that bear ever run away from keys? Anyway, we think that what it was really was that when they get called in that area and there's a problem bear, that the rangers come, and the rangers always walk around with these big keychains. You've seen them before, hanging. And when they're walking in, they hear those chains and they know that they better get out of there because the rangers aren't playing around. Mm-hmm. So that's my story about the bears.
That's really exciting and scary too, but I think probably we can all learn, just don't run from them, just get out of there. Most of the time, I believe bears are just protecting their territory and looking for food. If they're used to eating food from a campground or in a cabin area where there's trash or food leftovers, that's what they're looking for, and they will get into your car. They will smash windows and everything, your house, whatever it is, because that's what they do to survive. They're used to doing it now. So bears can be gentle in the right place, but stay away from them. They're always remember they're wild animals. That's what I know. Okay, that reminds me, Uncle Timmy, you have told me a story about when you were fishing and had a problem with a mountain lion. So can you tell us a little bit of that story, or the whole thing? I don't know if you have to.
I can tell a little bit. It's not a long story. Yes. So I was fishing up at a local lake where I live, and it was after work, and I had my fishing pole in my truck, and I grabbed my fishing pole and my pack, and I hiked down into a deep canyon, hiked down into where I know the fish usually are. And I went down there, and it was getting close to dark, and I knew I only had maybe an hour to fish. But I love doing that, especially if you only need a little time before you go home and have dinner. So I went up there, and I was fishing, and I had a great time while I was at the lake fishing. And so it was getting kind of dark, and I said, I better get out of here now. So I had to walk up this quite a big hill and then get onto an old road that wasn't in use anymore, and it went up to the highway where my truck was parked. And as I'm going up, I get up from the top, I get on the road, and I start walking up the hill. Now it's getting kind of dark. And as it's getting dark, as I'm walking, I see something. There's a ridge about 30 feet high on one side, and then a drop off on this side down into the canyon. And so it's a road. Up above is the 30-foot hill, and it's the top of a hill. And it's just a little hill that goes along the road. And I was walking, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw something, a shadow, in the brush. The brush was probably 5-6 feet tall.
And it's getting dark
and
right
it's getting
now.
dark. Yeah. So it's getting dark. So it's like, what was that? What was that? And it's just something I noticed. So I'm walking a little further, and I'm kind of watching out of the side of my eyes here, to see if something was there. And all of a sudden, this mountain lion, and I know what a mountain lion looks like, and it was big, and it jumped very silently, and it jumped up, and I could see it. And its tail was curved and long, and you could see it as it jumped out there and went down into the brush again. And I thought, this mountain lion is stalking me. So what I learned how to do by being in the wild quite a bit is that you try to make yourself look bigger, and you don't want to let them think that you can't see them. So I took off my knapsack, and I grabbed my fish. I had 2 fishing poles, and I put my arms out like this. And I started walking sideways, looking right at him, looking for him in that brush. And there he goes again. And every time he would jump, my heart would pound. And I did that probably about, I don't know, maybe 3-4 minutes of this thing going on. And I was getting concerned. I was scared. I was really scared.
It's all right to be
Yeah,
scared.
I was scared.
Good reason.
So I did that. And as I got closer to the highway and I could see my truck, the mountain lion just stopped jumping. I didn't see him anymore. So I kept an eye on it and kept walking like that. And when I got far enough and looked back enough, I got up there and I got away from him. But he was definitely stalking me. Now, I don't know that he would have attacked me or not, but it sure seemed like he was curious. Let's say that. But you have to be very, very cautious when you're walking out around places where mountain lions are frequented.
Right.
That's my story.
I think that tells you a good safety lesson actually with the bears. And with a bear, don't run, just stand your ground and back away, don't threaten them. Same thing with the mountain lion. However, mountain lions are stalkers. The bear just, I think that you're just in their territory and they're looking for food, or you've interrupted their family, little cubs were around or something. But the mountain lion is well known, and I was told this by an old country man way, way many years ago when I lived in the country. He said, you won't even know if there's a mountain lion stalking you because they're hiding and they're just watching and they're waiting for an opportunity to, whatever they need to do. If they think you're a threat or if they're looking for food, maybe you have an injury or, they're just waiting for an opportunity. And so they are stalkers. Bears, I don't think are. That's my opinion. But you can check on YouTube. Again, scary story, but I think you kids remember, those are little survival hints. Just be aware. Be aware of everything. But have fun out in nature. Now Timmy told me that he would like to tell some stories and remember some of the funny voices that he used to make and still does. He's going to share all this with us right now, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hi kids, I'm here today with Grandma Bonnie again. My name is Uncle Timmy, because Grandma Bonnie is my big sister. So, when I was a kid, I used to love singing and playing and having a good time. And I'm going to try and tell you a couple stories that I remember very well. So, my mom wanted me to be a really cool guy. And so what she did is she heard me talking one day in a different voice. I would make up little voices as I went along, and I had fun making them up. And she loved it. And she said, oh, little Timmy, you're doing a great job. Let's do something like that. So one day she took me out to a place in Hollywood and said, oh, I want you to go be happy and do that little voice that you do for this guy. And I said, sure, Mom, I will. And so the stuff I did was really crazy. So I had a voice like this. I went like this and I said, oh, everybody, how you doing? I'm just here today to have a great time. Woohoo! And I'm here also to go looking for something because I can't find it anywhere. I've looked everywhere and I asked my friend Georgie if he found that little thing. It was a really cool watch. I lost it. It just went somewhere. It like had a little band on it and little people running around. And I said, hey, what are you doing with my watch? I thought he took my watch away. And I said, why don't you give me my watch back? He said, I don't have to give me your watch. And I said, yes, you do. And then he started laughing. We both started laughing because I really didn't have a watch. You thought I had a watch, didn't you? Well, I didn't. But I had fun going around playing with my friends. And I would walk around and bang my head in the trees and make everybody laugh. And I would do a funny march. And I would talk like different people. Sometimes I was told I could talk like an Irish kid. And I didn't know what an Irish kid sounded like. So I tried it myself and I said, me God, and I'm here today to tell you, I'm going to have some fun with you. and you know who you are. I'm the guy who does this voice. And ain't but I'm Uncle Timmy. I have an Irish name, I do. Timothy. My brother was Daniel and Michael, but we weren't Irish, really. We were Swedish. Yeah, then we started talking like this. Vill du komma in för att visa snilja? Oh, Timothy Hog. That means, I love you very much. That's what I was told. Probably didn't, though. My dad didn't always tell the truth, but he was fun. And we used to get in trouble when we sat in the back seat of the car as we're traveling down the road, and me and my nephew Eric would make funny sounds, and we would do silly sounds, and they were fun, all in fun. And one of the things we did while Dad was driving is do the one where you put your lips on your arm. Do you know which sound I'm talking about, anybody? It's a little sound, and it goes like this. And we would laugh. We used to drive through Washington State, and when we were driving through Washington State, there was these terrible smells that would come up all of a sudden, and they called them pulp mills. I think it had something to do with wood. But once we hit those spots, Eric and I in the back seat would all of a sudden get the smell, and we would throw up right in the back seat of the car. Dad would have to pull over, and he'd yell at us, and we'd get in trouble for throwing up because he drove through a stinky place. We hated the stinky places, so then we had to put our faces in towels after that. But it was horrendous, I'll tell you that. But now we're having a good time. My dad's gone now. You know, he went up there to Norwegian heaven or whatever, Swedish heaven. And he's probably having a great time up there having, I don't know what they eat in Sweden, actually. I think they eat a lot of fish, but I love fishing too. But we all have a good time here at Grandma Bonnie's house. And we love looking out at the ocean, and we love coming here and having fun. So that's what we're doing today. So thanks for stopping in today. I hope to see you soon.
If you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to tune in to Adventures with Grandma Bonnie. See you next time.